faceoff. Shoots it deflected. Right hand. Pietrangelo save rebound. Stastny stopped by Pietrangelo. I don't believe that save. Neither does Peter Stastny. He can't believe the save that Pietrangelo just made on him as Frankie sparkling on that maneuver there to stop and rob Peter Stastny. He get 5 to 10 for that.
Hello and welcome to episode 55 of Tendy Talk, presented by the BLPA and the Hockey Podcast Networks. I'm your host Joe, better known as Wash Up Goalie on social media. This week I chat with Rapid City Rush goalie Adam Carlson. Adam isn't only an ECHL goalie, he's also a goalie coach with Devenir Goaltending here in the Twin Cities and helped me get the custom graphic I wanted on my new Vaughn V9s. So, without further ado, let's get to the conversation with Adam. Yeah. So, Adam, hey, thanks for joining me on the podcast. I'm glad to connect with you and talk some goaltending and, coaching with S.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So, where I like to start with most people is, ask how did you get started in this great game of hockey?
No, shoot. I got addicted when I was just like a kid. Like I was super competitive as a kid. I watched my older cousin Brett, who I just idolized, playing. I think he was in Squirts or Mites or something. And I watched him play, and I just wanted to do everything that he did. And so as soon as I saw him on skates, I wanted to do the same thing, and the rest is history.
So why did you choose goalie though?
I'm still trying to figure that out. I think it was the gear, honestly. Like right off the bat, just like they were just different. Like goalies stood out, right? And they were doing weird stuff, and they kind of always had that like goofy mentality, which is just basically who I am. Just a goofball all around and stopping pucks. For whatever reason, I liked getting hit with hard objects. I was a catcher in baseball and a goalie in hockey. It just suited me.
I think that's a common story with a lot of goalies, that a lot of us were catchers in baseball as well.
Oh yeah.
Because I was too. It's just something about, getting all that gear on and having things hit you.
100%. Yeah. I still can't figure it out. They got to do a test on all of us to find out what the hell's wrong with us.
Yeah. As I've said before, my dad mentioned to me on more than one occasion, he goes, couldn't you have continued playing soccer? I would have bought you brand new cleats every year, top of the line.
No, my parents had me in soccer when I was young in like the house league games. And I think the first game I played in, I scored like 6 goals. Yeah. And my parents were like sleeping in lawn chairs, and they were like, we can't do this. Sorry.
Yeah.
You're done.
Yeah, I played, in kindergarten and preschool. And even back then, I remember wanting to be the kid, standing between the flags playing goalie. And I think mom and dad back then thought I was just being lazy. But, fast forward all these years, and it's like, nope,
right.
It's where I was meant to be. It wasn't because I didn't want to run. It was just I wanted to be the odd one out there.
Yeah. Between the iron.
I had an old neighbor. He asked his son if he wanted to play baseball, and he goes, no, there's a lot of running in that. I'll just play soccer instead. And he's like looking at this kid like, do you know what soccer is? Do you know what's entailed?
And you ever want, like, just go play first base, dude. You'll be fine.
Yeah. He just looked at him. He's like, are you sure? Like, there's a lot of running in soccer. He was the same kid that his dad asked him if he wanted to be an engineer when he grew up, and he was in like middle school freshman year at this time. He goes, I don't want to drive trains for a living. He's like, no, engineers are like, they do other stuff too, bud.
Yeah.
They design the world.
Yeah, actually.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. Good kid. He's actually pretty bright, just not too sharp on certain things. So
yeah, we're all slow sometimes.
You start playing hockey, you wind up in goal. Take us through that journey of yours. Because as a good Minnesota kid, you played high school hockey and and beyond. Take us through that journey a little bit.
Well, I actually never got an opportunity to play high school hockey, but I'll get to that. Let's see, it started at a young age. Like second grade, we're in second year mites. it's the year that goalies like get a play, or kids get to play goalie. And I'd say 90% of the time, my parents were coming home with me and 2 hockey bags because I wanted to be the goalie for the next game. So I had to bring my player gear home and the goalie gear. So then it got to a point in like third year mites that the bag just stayed with me. Like I was in charge of the goalie gear my third year mites, and if anybody else wanted to play goalie, they had to contact me to get the gear. And I'd play with the gear in my basement, whatever, with my good buddy who we still keep in touch with today. His name is Bernard DeHogue. He just lived up the street when I was growing up, and we just play in the basement all the time. He just rip pucks on me, and I'd just sit in net. So it started there, and then by the end of third year mites, I was on the AAA Blades, not knowing how cool it was to be on the Blades at that age. I was just like there, I was just like, oh, playing hockey. Had no idea what the Blades meant until I got older, and kept on playing. Made the Squirt A team my first year Squirts, and I was like, oh, I must be pretty good at this. And then Squirt A again, and then Pee-wees. I didn't have much goalie training. I mean, we had Steve Carroll's goalie school, but that was just like once a year at the start of the season, and then not much goalie training after that, just because during the summers I wanted to play baseball.
Right.
So baseball was my true passion, and I still love it. I might even love it even more than hockey to this day. But yeah, I just wanted to play baseball. So that took precedent. And then first year Pee-wee made Pee-wee B1, then B1 again. We had some good teams. Didn't do anything really special. Didn't really win a state tournament. Like a couple cool, like Edina Invitational tournaments, but nothing crazy. Then just kind of focused my life on baseball for as long as I can remember at that age. And then come Bantam, made Bantam B2, then Bantam B1 the following year. And then coming into high school, tried out for JV, didn't make the cut in my sophomore year. I ended up playing Junior Gold B, and I was like, all right, well, now I really only care about baseball. Like Junior Gold B is just, it's not horrible hockey, but it's not good hockey.
Right. It's a lot of fighting.
But a lot of fighting, a lot of rough and like, just that.
Yeah.
And so I kind of set out the following year. I didn't even try out my junior year because I was just like, screw it. Like, I made Junior Gold B. I'm not going to make JV or varsity like in Edina. There's no way. And my goal was set on making Junior Gold A, and then made Junior Gold A, and then started working at General Sports in Edina, Minnesota, at the middle part of my junior year of high school. And then through that, I was able to meet a guy by the name of Ryan S., as you know well, with Devenir Goaltenders.
I try not to promote that I know him, but yes, I know.
Right?
Yeah.
But our relationship started with Ryan and Matt Haplow over at General Sports, and we just clicked. Everything started going great, and our goal was for me to make Edina varsity my senior year. Ended up making unbelievable strides in just 1 year of having a goalie coach, and ended up being the last guy cut my senior year for Edina varsity. And then Kurt Giles looked me straight in the eye and he's like, dude, like, you need to keep playing hockey. Like, you got way too good and way too short of a time for you to like stop now. And I took that to heart. I really did. A lot of kids just said, screw it, like whatever.
Yeah.
I took it to heart and really cared about my senior year season for Junior Gold A, and we ended up winning the state tournament by an absolute landslide. My buddy Tori Dahlbeck, who we worked together at General with, he was my goalie partner that year, and it was comical how good we were as a tandem plus our team. We ended up outscoring our opponents in the state tourney like 18-2. It was comical. We actually, I guess we're all old enough now. We're all in our late 20s, but we had bottles of champagne in our bags, like ready to go for the state championship. So once we won, our buddy Brett Sorum, who lives the coolest life in the world right now, he popped open his bag and popped open a bottle of champagne. Coaches came in yelling at us like, "What are you doing? Your parents are out here." We're like, "We don't care. Like, we're having a time."
Yeah.
But it was a lot of fun, and it really made me fall in love with hockey. And I was kind of on the fence between hockey and baseball and like what I wanted to do. If I wanted to go to school and try to play like D3 crappy baseball, or, you know, chase the junior hockey dream. And decided to chase the junior hockey dream. Kept working at General Sports. I still work there to this day. But started the junior hockey trend, and it just took off like big time. Started off my junior career with the North Iowa Bulls in the NA3. It was a tough league, especially at that time in the early 2010s. If we want to, is that how we refer to that time period? 2010s.
I think so. I think so.
10s. So in the early 10s, started doing that and playing the junior hockey role. And you know, it was the first time in my life where it was like, all right, like you're on your own, and you're not that you're on your own for like your school assignments and, you know, getting to class on time and feeding yourself. Like you're on your own in the sense that you are like running your own business as yourself, and you have to go basically battle with the coaches and other players every day to stay in there. And I wasn't like in my fit when I was in North Iowa. So, you know, still one of the hardest things to this day in my life was like walking up to Coach Todd Sandin, who was a really well-respected NA3 coach, and just being like, "Dude, trade me, get me out of here."
Trade me right effing now.
Trade me right.
Hang up the phone.
Those stickers. I got to get one of those stickers from you. Those things are hilarious.
Yeah.
But basically gave it one of those, and he actually put me right where I wanted to be in Steele County, Minnesota, which is in Owatonna. I played for the Steele County Blades in their inaugural season, and like we didn't crush it. I think we made it to the second round of playoffs, and then we got swept in the second round of playoffs, and then the following year.
And that was part of the MNJHL. That's junior B, right?
I think. I don't even know where it would fall in.
Yeah, because when S and I were at St. Mary's, I was a 4-year JV All-Star, and not every MIAC team had a JV team, so we would round out our schedule with MNJHL teams almost as a recruiting purpose. So yeah, we played the Ice Hawks, the Kodiaks. You know, some of those teams are defunct now, and I got a wicked concussion when we were playing the Ice Hawks because one of the guys ran me after I played the puck.
Standard.
Yeah, exactly. You know, there was one game, the other goalie, we're standing, you know, side by side on our own benches, and they're trying to start fights. And the one kid looks at me and goes, "Do you guys not fight because you're a Catholic school?" I looked at him and said, "No, we don't fight because we're wearing cages. It doesn't make sense." He's like,
"We're in college."
It's like, I suppose that makes sense. It's like, yeah, I don't think that the coaches are going to be looking at you for a recruitment. You don't have the smarts to get in here, bud.
Right. Oh my God. Like, come on, wake up, kid. You're playing a college team. You can't fight.
Yeah.
That's a big reason why those kids get stuck down there sometimes.
You know, so you're playing down there, but then you make the jump back up to the NAHL after that.
Yep. And then, so actually one of the guys who was coaching for the Twin Cities Northern Lights, the team that knocked us out of playoffs, his name is Lincoln Wynn, and I'm still very good friends with him to this day. I actually just texted him the other day. I'm back in Minnesota now. I honestly, like, he's one of the guys that if ever I'm back at home, like, he gets a text like, "Hey, let's go grab a beer, let's go play around, whatever." So he ended up getting the assistant coaching job in Cooley, and it was the last camp last like tryout camp in the summer that I attended. Like I went to a whole bunch of these ones and they were like, yeah, we're going to draft you, like whatever, like you'll be at main camp. And I'm like, all right, well, no tender, wasn't offered anything. So I just kept on going to these camps because I'm not going to wait on the word of somebody else. Like I'm going to go make a team.
And the whole time you're still working with Devenir,
Exactly.
with goalie camps. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was going through that, working with Ryan at this point now, like helping run his camps, plus training, plus working at General Sports. And at this point, I was going to school full time as well at Normandale Community College because my grades in high school were just we don't even talk about it. But I ended up getting like a 5 GPA and making the dean's list my first semester of college, which is comical because I was a horrible student. No, it was at Normandale, so take it for what it's worth. But it helped my recruiting ability a lot when I was able to tell coaches that. But made Cooley's team because of my connection with Lincoln. He got me the last slot into the camp, and then I just had an unbelievable tryout camp. Went to main camp, and out of main camp, I was competing for the starting spot with Blake Cates, who was a kid out of Stillwater. He was really highly touted actually in youth hockey, and he was a solid goaltender. He doesn't play anymore. He actually quit after that year. But we were battling it out for the starting position all year. And I can remember after my very first game in the NA showcase, my whole goal was to play D3 hockey for like Gustavus. And that's all I wanted to do. I would have been happy with that. But then after the first game in the showcase, Lincoln came downstairs. It was like, dude, Providence is interested and wants to know how interested you are in their school. And I think they had just won the national championship that year. And I was like, wait, like Providence, like Division I. And he's like, yeah, they really like the game. And it was at that point that I was like, holy shit, like you can play D1 hockey. It's what they like, you can do it. Then ended up like going back and forth with Cates the entire season. And luckily for me, the following year, he decided to quit. We were both 94s, I believe, and he just hung him up. And it was going to be him and I fighting for the starting role for our overage years of juniors.
Mm-hmm.
And he just decided to hang him up out of the blue. And then that opened up a huge spot for me. And I ended up, I think, playing 52 games that season with like a .922 save percentage. I was talking to every single team you could even imagine for D1. And then a guy by the name of Greg Gardner, who was another dear friend of mine who was my assistant coach in college, kind of hit me up and was treating me like a human and like almost like a father figure, like a mentor. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like somebody that made that true connection, you know, that wasn't calling to like bullshit, like how good their school was and all this kind of stuff. And like he was a really good human about it. And I was really attracted to it. And I was like, okay, this is awesome. And then offered to bring me on a visit. And I'm telling you, I was talking to University of Michigan, UMass Amherst, UMass Lowell, University of Minnesota, UND. So all these schools are calling and all this, BU, DU, you fucking name it. Sorry, pardon my French.
That's all right. It's a hockey podcast. It happens.
And I'm like, I call my mom, I'm like, hey, I'm going on this visit. I'm going to Mercyhurst. And she's like, you're going to waste one of your visits on that? I was like, yeah, I am. I like it. I like something about it. I went on my visit. I got snuck into the bars and we had a great time. We ended up getting there on a Sunday night, and I think the team had a really good weekend. And I just loved like how close the team was. And I think you can find that in almost any college locker room now that I look back at it. But I just loved it. I fell in love with the group that was there. the gym was on campus, the rink was on campus. It was 100-yard walk from my freshman dorm to the rink. Like, it was small classroom sizes, just kind of everything I was looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And came home from, they offered me a scholarship, and came home from that, and I was like, Mom, Dad, I'm gonna commit to Mercyhurst. My mom and dad were like, what are you thinking? Like, are you sure? And I was like, I got a great chance to play my freshman year, and they want me. And my dad has always said, my dad always said, like, you need to go to where you're most wanted, and no matter what, if you're good enough, they will find you.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, all right, like, yeah. So I took that to heart, and then I went back and I used it right back to him when when they were telling me, like, hey, you don't need to commit here. You got all these other teams. And I was like, no, Dad, remember what you said. And ended up committing there. Battled it out with the starting. There was a freshman there when I committed. His name was Brandon Wildong. So I came in his sophomore year, and he had played like 28 games the year before and stolen the starting spot as a freshman. So I came in, and him and I were battling back and forth. Ended up playing 18 games, having a great season. And honestly, it was after my first game, I got a call from Will Nickel, who is now, I believe he's the head of player development with the Golden Knights. But he was a scout with the Washington Capitals. And after my first game, he called me and said, hey, we're inviting you to Capitals development camp. I was just like, all right, this is bullshit. Like, this guy's lying. This isn't the real deal. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. And then I thought it was my captain's, just pulling my leg and just trying to give me some shit. And then ended up looking him up, and it was legit. Like, this guy was a legitimate scout for the Washington Capitals. Then push came to shove. They ended up being at, like, if they weren't watching my game in person, they were streaming it and texting me immediately after the game for the whole season. And then during playoffs, we had 2 playoff games at home. I played in the first game. We lost like 2-1. I played really well. But Mitch Korn, goalie coach now for the New York Islanders, was the goalie coach for the Washington Capitals, was at the game with Will Nickel. And they took me out to dinner, and I had a conversation with Mitch Korn, and Will Nickel kind of took my parents to the side. My parents had to pay for the meal just because I was in college. That stupid rule.
Yep.
That doesn't exist anymore, I don't think. And Will Nickel basically told my parents, while Mitch and I were geeking out about Dominik Hasek and just Stanley Cup runs and all the guys that he's coached in the past. Hasek was my idol growing up, as I'm sure it was yours.
So you've seen my game a little bit to tell that.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So, like, it was just cool geeking out with him. I wasn't even thinking about, like, this recruiting process. I was just kind of enjoying and living in the moment. And Will Nichols sitting there having a conversation, dinner ends, like, nice to meet you. And apparently I had passed all these tests that they were looking for, and I had no idea.
Mm-hmm.
I get in the car with my mom and dad, and my mom looks at me and she goes, you got to be fucking kidding me, Adam. Do you know what's going on? I was like, no, not a clue. I'm totally clueless. She goes, you are about to be offered an NHL contract. And, like, I can just remember, like, goosebumps. I still get them whenever I tell the story. And I'm just like, are you kidding me? Like, what? She's like, they want you in Hershey as soon as next week. And I was just like, what? Like, what does that even mean? And I can remember S telling me, like, before I left for school, him being like, dude, like, you've put in a lot of hard work, but the hard work is just beginning. Mm-hmm. Like, these next 4 years are going to be a grind.
Yeah.
And I can remember calling us and just laughing and being like, man, that wasn't too bad. Like, it only took me a year and I got this. But ended up reporting to Hershey
no less than a week later, and left all my stuff at school. Drove down to Hershey with, a suitcase, 2 suitcases, my goalie gear, and a 2002 Chevrolet Suburban that was on its last leg of life, and showed up there. And no less than a year after committing to play Division I was standing in a locker room for the Hershey Bears, and my goalie partners were Dan Ellis and Justin Peters.
Just not too shabby.
Not like whirlwind. And I mean, I grew up, household name in Minnesota here. I grew up watching Aaron Ness go through high school, and then, becoming a captain with the Gophers, and then going on and playing, and still playing and having a great pro career. I work out with him in the summers. Like we're buddies. I would call us good friends. We don't know each other that well, but we see each other all the time in the summers, train. And I remember just like walking into the locker room, like, oh my God, there's Aaron Ness right in front of me. Like this is insane. Yep. And then you got guys in there like Chris Bork, who's Ray Bork's son. Chris and Ryan Bork were on that team as well. And next thing you know, we're in the Calder Cup finals, and I'm just sitting there as a black ace, just like this is insane. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of where the pro career started, and it's kind of been nothing but a battle ever since then.
Well, and that next year, when you look at your hockey DB, you were on the move quite a bit. You were in Hershey, you were in South Carolina, you were in Indy, you were all over the place. And
yep.
I used to coach with the guy who actually got his ECHL start in South Carolina, playing for the Stingrays too during the lockout year. But similar season where he moved around a bit, and for him that was enough. He said, okay, I'm done. How was it going through that season, kind of being moved around a little bit? Were there thoughts of hanging him up?
Well, so my first season, so the year I just talked about was my ATO year. So I didn't play any games after I left school. So right when I left school, signed an ATO, went to Hershey. That's when Dan Ellis and Justin Peters were there. And I was just a black ace. So I was with the team practicing, doing all that. The following year was my first year pro. And that's when I was with the Stingrays. Spent the whole year there, and we made it to the Kelly Cup finals with that squad. That was a riot. But then the following year after that, started the year in Hershey. Yep. And then I went down to South Carolina. I was young, I was dumb, and I didn't have the best relationship with my coach. And so I asked for a reassignment, got a reassignment, went to Indy. I was in hell when I was in South Carolina. Was not in a good mental place. Then I went to Indy, not in a good mental place again. Ended up playing in one game in Indy, and I think I gave up 6 goals in 2 periods. And then I was losing starts to a kid who was called up from the SP. And I was just like, you know what, this is not for me. Like, I'm done with this. Like, whatever. Like, I should be in school right now, like enjoying time with the guys, all this kind of stuff. And then my agent called me. He's like, hey, like, we got a potential situation for you in Kansas City, and they want you there for 3 games. And then you'll probably end up going to South Carolina after that and ending the season there because they're affiliated with Washington, and that's where you go. I was like, all right, fine. Like, I got to give it a shot. Like, I got to keep going. I can't just quit. I can't hang them up like this.
Yeah.
And so I ended up showing up in Kansas City, and my first game in Kansas City, we played the Florida Everblades, and we ended up losing, I think it was 3-2. And the game-winning goal they scored on me was a ice puck on a power play for us. They sent it down from all the way, like, far left corner of the ice, and I went out to play it, and the puck came in, sauced at an angle, and it came and it landed flat, like, on that edge.
Yeah.
Right on the bottom of the right circle. So I skated over there to, like, play it. It hits on an angle,
and it ends up bouncing and going far post and in, game winner.
Oh,
Once again, losing starts the next weekend to a call up from the SP. And then I basically just hit fuck it. You know what I mean? I was like, go out there and stop the puck. Like Dominic Hasek it. Like, let just go. Like, just do it. Ended up going on like a 9-game tear the next time I got the start. And then Mason McDonald, who was a draft pick by Calgary and on an NHL deal at the time, and then Tyler Parsons, who is, I think, still in Stockton right now. I think he was a first rounder, but he got sent down too. So we had 3 NHL contracted guys, including myself, and 2 of them were affiliated and I wasn't. And I ended up like taking the net. And then I ended up getting called up for the last, I think, 6 games of the regular season with Hershey. And their season, we didn't make playoffs, but like that was a grind of a year. I mean, it had the highest of highs at the start of the year, starting in the American League, getting Hershey their first win in their 80th season against the Grand Rapids Griffins, who were defending Calder Cup champions the following, or the year before. And then, you know, playing on 4 different teams to finishing that season with the Bears, like that sucked. And then I ended up having, you know, one of the biggest wake-up calls ever for me, and that was not getting an American League deal or an NHL deal the following season and going on and playing for the Rapid City Rush. I went from making a lot of money to making $850 a week in the ECHL, and had a great year there. We had not the greatest team when I played there. Like to call ourselves the Bad News Bears. We were just a bunch of hacks and we found a way to win games left and right. And then I was able to get a call up to Milwaukee 3 different times throughout that year. And their head coach down there, Carl, pulled me aside when I first got there and straight up said, Carly, everyone's talking about the change in your game this year, and I think it's because you really got to work for it. And then he said, there's 3 things that we always look for in goaltenders here, and that's that you're poor, you're hungry, and you're driven. And I basically kind of looked at him and laughed, and I was like, so you're saying I'm down on my luck and I'm working my way out of the grave? And he goes, yep. And so and that's the same mentality that I had when I got cut from varsity, right? So like I learned that at a young age, and to be able to have that happen, you know, once I hit pro, that helped me a lot. Was going through that bullshit at a young age. And then because this game, I mean, hockey does not care. Hockey never has and never will. And if you try to cheat the game in any way, shape, or form, or think that like something's expected and you don't work for it, you're not going to get it, especially once you hit the pro level. So I learned that year, and it was one of the biggest lessons I think I've learned in my young life so far.
So you've spent most of your career in the ECHL, and I think when people think about the ECHL, they think of those blue goalposts. What the heck is with those blue goalposts?
Geico, baby.
Yeah, but they're not saving you 15%.
No, they don't save me anything. I don't know what it is. It's we have the sponsorship with Geico on that, but you know what's funny is I've never seen a Geico sponsorship. Like I've never seen like a Geico commercial in the rink, like when I've been a scratch. You know what I mean? I've never seen a Geico like a Dasher sponsorship. You know what I mean? But like it's just our posts. So I don't know where it comes from, or like what it's doing, but it's been there my entire career. And yeah. I couldn't figure it out. So once you find out, please share the love.
So, you know, the ECHL, I think sometimes people have preconceived notions of, you know, the hockey there, but what do you think surprises people the most, or would surprise them the most about the ECHL and the hockey there?
The skill level and where people came from.
Going back to what I just said, hockey doesn't care. It truly doesn't, especially once you get to the ECHL level, because our contracts in the coast are done on a week-to-week basis. So if you're not performing, you're not guaranteed like
The season.
one-way contract. You're not guaranteed a season-long contract of pay like you are in the American League. If you're on a one-way American League deal or a two-way, you're guaranteed X amount of dollars in the coast and X amount of dollars in the American League. If you're on a one-way American League deal, well, you're guaranteed that, let's call it 80 grand a year if you're in the coast or in the American League, and same thing with an NHL deal.
Yep.
In the coast, you don't have that. So there's no job security at all. If you're not producing, like, you're as good as cut. So like, guys are fighting for jobs constantly.
Every game, every shift. Like, there's some guys who, here's another crazy thing. There's only 3 lines. There's 60 and 10 forwards. There's 3 lines and 1 extra forward. And if you're the 10th forward, like, you might only see 3 shifts in a game. So yeah, it could be 1 shift that makes or breaks your season. And that's money. The crazy thing about the coast too is like where people come from, and even in the American League too, and like sometimes in the NHL, like, just take a look at where these guys come from, because I know so many guys who come out of the Division 1 and they can't play the ECHL game. They can't, because they're expected like this, and it's like, well, they get all whiny and bitchy, and it's just like, well, hockey doesn't care. Yeah,
bye.
They didn't play enough pond hockey to know how to play a broken play.
Right, exactly. And that's what happens all the time in the coast, especially because there's only 3 lines. And so we got a bunch of young guys here in Rapid, and all the young guys talk about, oh, this guy did this in college, this, like, he's going to be good in pro. And I remember telling one of the guys just this last week, I was like, I really don't care what you did last year or what he did last year. What's he doing? What's he doing today? Yeah. Like, what's he doing to produce today? There's a kid, his name is Tyson Empey, and I get goosebumps talking about him. He played, last year was his rookie season in the ECHL, and he's a good, skillful player, came out at D3. He's tough as nails. He'll fight all the heavies, and he can play. And this kid just got the opportunity to show up to Tucson's camp in the American League this year. And hockey doesn't care, right? A couple guys in NHL deals end up going down and getting hurt. All of a sudden, this kid gets into a fight in a preseason game, and then he looks good. He doesn't screw up any plays, and he's playing well. Well, he just signed a PTO, a 25-game PTO with Tucson, because he's lighting it up. Yeah. And we had 8 other guys who all played Division 1, some of them with a couple years pro, some of them with American League experience, that he beat out. And he came from D3.
Well, and
what I mean?
Having played in, D3, well, been a part of a program anyway, D3 compared to even when Ryan and I were there has come a long way. It was great hockey when we were there, and at least the MIAC anyway, is phenomenal hockey, where I think there's some nights some of those D3 teams could give some D1 teams a run for their money.
Oh, 100%. I couldn't agree more. But it's just like, the coast gets such a bad rap because, the crazy thing is there's 3 to 4 guys in every single lineup that I could argue could play in the NHL or have the skill level to play in the NHL. They're just missing one thing, 2 thing, whatever it is. Yep. You know what I mean? They're just missing that 1 or 2 things. And one of those 2 things could straight up just be opportunity. Yeah. And they've just never been given that opportunity. Yep. So there's still a ton of skill. And honestly, I think the coast is one of the hardest leagues to play in pro, because the money's tough. You got to earn your spot on a daily basis.
You got to be mentally tough.
we don't get the best medical attention, and it's just the nature of the beast because there's not as much money, right? Like, I mean, even in the American League, you're getting laser treatment done on your knee, and it doesn't matter how hard your trainer in the coast is working. It doesn't compare to the money that is spent on just player rehab in the American League. And then you go to the NHL and it's like, oh man, you get whatever you want. You know what I mean? Like, they're giving you pills that you've never even, not pills, but they're giving you supplements that you've never even heard of to help build collagen, like in certain areas, or help with, you know, healing of your meniscus after surgery. Like, then you get all this crazy stuff that you don't get down in the coast.
Right.
So
it's like having a Cadillac insurance plan versus having Minsure.
Exactly. And Minsure is what you're on if you're playing in the coast.
Yeah.
And you're above the age of 26.
You know, so throughout all this, I mean, you mentioned meeting up with Ryan back when you were, you know, first starting at General Sports and getting into coaching. How much do you think coaching has helped you, you know, being a goalie coach has helped you along the way in that mental toughness of understanding, you know, some of the process behind it?
Well, I think it's just that. It's truly understanding the process. Like, there's so many times where a goalie comes to you as a goalie coach, and I've seen it a lot in the last decade. And you're like, oh my God, this is going to be the longest session of my life. Like, this kid can't even butterfly slide. He can't stop. He doesn't know what he's doing. And then all of a sudden he shows up at 2 or 3 year camps in the summer, and you look at goalie in July versus goalie at the end of September, and it's a different person.
Yeah.
And one, that's really awesome as a coach. Like, that's what you live for. That's the coolest thing ever. And two, it just goes to show, like, if you focus as an adult, like, that's a little kid who's maybe hardly focusing on one of the details that you're telling him on a daily basis.
Yep.
And he's getting that much better because he's focusing on that one little thing that you're telling him when you're on the ice with him. And he gets that much better in that short period of time. Now, as a pro, if I focus on all of those little things every single day, well, guess what? Like, my range for getting better just doubled.
Yep.
So
I've been telling Ryan for a few years now that he needs to have a beer league goalie camp in the summertime because there's a lot of guys who pick, you know, for whatever reason, they pick up the position in the beer leagues and they've never had formal training, and like what it would do to their game to have a weekend camp to just learn that, or somebody like me who just needs some practice. I
think I like where your head's at there. The problem is I don't know if our livers can handle it.
Well, I have mentioned that because, like, you know, lunchtime nutrition isn't going to be what you guys are telling the kids, you know.
No, not at all.
No, but no. I think that would be an amazing weekend, or even a week in the summer would be just phenomenally fun.
A weekend would be a blast, like, especially if we did it up somewhere like shoot. Can you press pause on the recording here so nobody hears our ideas? Like, what if we did something like up at Breezy Point and like just made like a fishing weekend out of it too?
Or even if we went down to our old alma mater, Brian and I, down at St. Mary's, where we're able to somehow like get the one dorm for the weekend, and everybody just literally stay right next to the rink. Because that's a pretty sweet rink too down there.
Between fiancés, girlfriends, and wives, I don't know if we'd be allowed to. Oh, they'd be like, no, we wouldn't come back.
Yeah, my wife would be like, you want to go back down to St. Mary's for the weekend for what? Yeah. Like, she'd be like, how old are you? You're 40 years old. Stop it. You know? Yeah.
That actually sounds like it would be a blast.
Yeah. I floated the idea by him. He likes it. He hasn't pulled the trigger. So maybe you'll have to push him towards it. He
needs somebody like me to run with it.
Yeah. And I think because it's my idea, I should just get a complimentary spot.
Yeah, I'm not against it. I'm not against it. As long as the money doesn't come out of my pocket, I'm for it.
Right. There you go. So, you mentioned working at General Sports, and I got to bring that up because Ryan actually connected me with Tori and not you when I went to start looking for my new Vaughn equipment. But
yeah,
you kind of helped play an important role in that when I haven't gotten them yet, so I haven't really told people the custom graphic, but you know what it is.
Oh yeah.
When Vaughn came back to Tori, like, no, this is the list he gets to choose from.
Yeah.
And you kind of went above and went to Ev, and they're like, come on. And Ev obviously is like, yeah, we're going to do that. So today it's the 17-week mark since we ordered them. I know they're coming soon because Ev sent me a text last week that Crystal was sewing them up. So, I mean, we're literally in any day now mode.
Right.
So, what's it like, working with these, because you don't just work with Vaughn, you work with the different equipment manufacturers.
Yeah.
What's the one thing most goalies don't think of when they're ordering custom goalie equipment outside of the lead time these days?
Well, the most thing that people don't look at is the correct size pad.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone always sits there and thinks, oh, I got, like, it's okay to go a little bit bigger. Like, I'll cover more net. Like,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely not. Like, Tori and I will never, ever sell somebody a pad that's
Mm-hmm.
too big for them.
Yeah.
One, because I know from experience, I was wearing 36 plus twos in college. And as soon as I got to pro level and I was working with Scott Murray and Mitch Korn, like, you have to play the game with no holes.
Mm-hmm.
And if your pads are too big, well, you have holes everywhere.
Yep.
And you can't get everything together. And so, really emphasizing to people, like, look, who cares if your kid's going to grow? If his pads don't fit right now, why are you spending this kind of money on these pads?
I mean, it does help that you're in Edina and there's a lot of money out there, so they don't care.
That's true too. That helps us a lot. Yeah. Know your demographic. That's retail 101. But in terms of the timeline, like, my dad always said, over promise and under deliver.
Mm-hmm.
So sitting there and telling you, like, hey, we're probably looking at like 14 to 16 weeks here. Realistically, I'm told like 12 to 14 on a good year.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, all right, we don't really know. All right, now that bumps up to like 14 to 16 or like 16 to 18. And then people sit there and go, oh, holy crap.
Yeah.
And then that's usually when I turn into a douche and tell them, well, give them a little bit of background on me and who I am and what I've done, and tell them, like, hey, like, I still wait 12 weeks.
Yeah.
And this is technically my 7th year pro, 6th full year pro. So we'll call it 6. It's my 6th year pro. And I'm still waiting on my pads. And that's normal. I'm not in the NHL. I'm not a go-to guy. And guess what? When you walk into the store or anybody else, well, Vaughn's not paying you to wear their equipment in the NHL. So at the end of the day, you're just as important as the next guy walking into the store. And if they were to bump everybody up in line that wanted to be bumped up, they wouldn't get any work done.
Right.
So they're a small mom and pop shop at Vaughn, and they build such a good pad. And so when people sit there and say, well, I don't want to wait that long, I'm honest with them. I tell them, like, look, the reason why they take so long is because they do put that tender love and care in each one of the stitches.
It's not machine made, it's handmade.
Right. And one of the biggest things that, Vaughn tips their cap on is that some years they're the best pad in the world, but they're never the worst. They're always, they sit right at that really good, high quality level. And some years Bauer comes out and makes a way lighter pad and everyone thinks it's better.
Yeah.
But Vaughn, you're always going to get that consistent pad. You're going to wait and you're going to pay for it.
I mean, there's a reason my pads have lasted 21 years because they're made so well. And I mean, I'm probably going to feel like I don't even have pads on my legs with the new ones because they're going to be so much lighter, but that's a whole
Right.
other story.
Well, and the stiffness, you're gonna feel it because they're gonna be way stiffer.
Yeah.
We softened them up a little bit for you, but
Yeah.
there's nothing that can match what you're in.
I remember trying on a pair of Access pads at the Let's Play Hockey Expo, and it felt like I had a 2x4 strapped to my leg compared to what I'm in now. And I mean, that's another reason I went with Wanted. I can get a slightly, softer pad.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I can't get a glove as big as I have now because I mean, they just make them that big, but hey, what are you going to do?
I mean, if there's any company out there that would make you a little bit bigger one, it would be Vaughn, but I don't even think with how scarce the material is right now, nobody's going to do that for you.
No,
it's insane. But I mean, you can still do all that, the softening up of the pads with your Brian's, the Paso pads. You can do it with those companies like your Bauer. You can do it with CCM too. Your Bauers, you're kind of stuck with, that hard pad. But other than that, like, I mean, I'm such a Vaughn guy. Like, it's so bad.
Yeah.
Because I'll sell it, but at the same time, like, there's nothing wrong with all the other pads. The problem is I'm an old soul. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. I'll be able to get out of the Vaughn pad. But by the same token, most people don't like to wait that 16, 18 weeks for the pads.
And, I looked at Bauer. I would have loved to have gone with a custom Bauer digiprint of, to replicate Belfour's, iconic, what I think is iconic Chicago pads, with the black and white. But it's like, I know the durability isn't going to be there in that pad to last me as long as this Vaughn set's going to.
Right.
And it's like, if I'm going to spend that kind of money, I want it to, last me because I'm an old guy. This is the last set I'm going to buy. If this one lasts another 21 years, that means I'm hanging up the pads at 61 years old and skating out.
I don't think you're going to last 21 years.
We'll see. We'll see. I mean, I'm pretty limber and flexible. As long as the back holds out, I should be okay.
Yeah, that's a tough one, though. Engage that core. You'll be fine.
Yeah. I know my game's going to slow down a little bit. It has already from the college days, but so has the game in front of me in the beer leagues. We're all getting older, so it's okay.
This is true.
And, unlike you, I'm not playing for the score on the scoreboard. I'm playing for the fact that there's beer in the locker room after the game.
Right. Well, I still play for that too.
Yeah. I mean, there is that, but the wins and losses mean a little more to you guys. Everybody makes the playoffs in the beer leagues.
This is true.
Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't done that in a while.
Yeah. So I want to be mindful of time because I know you got a therapy appointment to get to. If you listen to any of the episodes, I end with a list of 10 rapid fire questions, and I'll try and keep them somewhat rapid for you today. So the first one is, what's the craziest coaching moment from your playing days?
Oh, shoot. Grenading water bottles onto the ice. I've seen coaches try to fight each other in between the halls. Just anything Danbury Trashers. Have you seen that Netflix special?
Yes.
Untold Crimes and Penalties. Basically everything you've seen in that, minus actually we had a money laundering thing happen with one of the teams I played for. So basically that documentary, that only not as many broken legs.
So you're saying they didn't take creative liberties with that documentary?
Not really, and it still happens to this day, a lot of that stuff, which is crazy, minus the money laundering stuff.
Yeah, I think that was a fantastic documentary, and the fact that the Galante fellows were like, yeah, we're going to talk about this, and we did that stuff. Like, and the trainer hiding the opposing team's goalie equipment is like, my god, it's just crazy.
They definitely still mess with the there's times where you don't have hot water, and it might be because the Zamboni is getting filled up at the same time you're in there, but still, there's times where you walk into the locker room and all of a sudden it's 20 degrees warmer than it was when you walked out for warm-ups. It's just what the hell?
All right, we're going to be this way now. So what's your favorite all-time goalie mask?
Oh, that's a tough one. You know what? I'm going to have to say the first Winter Classic one that Marc-Andre Fleury wore. It had the white cage with the dark blue bottom and the baby blue on top with the Circle Penguin logo here.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
I actually did my first ever mask that I painted. I did a wrap replicating that when I was in Cooley. I think that goes down as my all-time favorite.
Okay. I like it because it's not one of your typical ones that a lot of people go with.
No, I'm not typical.
No. If you get along with Ryan, no, you're not typical.
Yep, exactly.
I just remember sitting in the locker room and some of his stories. It's like, are you like, this had to have happened because you're not just making this random stuff up. It's like,
yeah. Oh no, it's like we've got some stories. Most of them are off-air stories.
Yes, absolutely. It's like they made me blush. You know.
Oh yeah.
So what is your favorite rink that you've played at?
Oh, favorite rink. Sounds like a cliche, but I played in a lot of really cool ones. But I'm gonna have to go with the Giant Center in Hershey, Pennsylvania.
Okay. All right.
That's or Boise, Idaho. Those two top it big time.
So this is one that throws everybody for a loop. What's your favorite stick that you've ever used?
Favorite stick? Bauer NXG. Their first, like, not their first composite line, but their first like super light NXG, and I actually used it all the way up until 2 years ago. And actually my stick right now that I have, Warrior, is made after that, so I basically still use it.
I'm still a foam core holdout, so one day
Really?
I'll have to. Yeah. So using the Warriors.
Got some at the shop.
I might have to check them out when I pick up my pads because my Warrior is starting to get a little brittle.
They're 40% off, and I'm sure you can talk Tori down a little bit more.
I'll have to keep that in mind when I go up. The problem is I like a long paddle. I got a 27-inch paddle. Because
Warriors got the 27 and a halves.
Yeah, when I first started playing, the first goalie stick I bought that wasn't association owned was a Titan, and it was a senior level tight. So I got used to holding that stick up here high when I was squirt. So now I just always felt more natural with a tall paddle.
Big time.
The trend right now is to go with the shorter paddle, but it's like, nope.
Well, you have to.
Give me those tall sticks,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm the opposite.
Yeah. Although I do want to toy around with cutting a trigger grip into my next paddle, I think.
That's my language.
Yeah.
That's my language right there.
My problem is I just hesitate cutting into a stick after I paid that kind of money for it. I've used the Goalie Guru attachment. I like that, but I still like the idea of kind of wrapping that finger around it. Because as a fan of Hasek, I put that paddle down quite a bit still.
Oh, yeah. I might have a twig I can let you fiddle around with. Let's see if I can get you one. I'll bring it to the shop and leave it there for you.
Awesome. I appreciate it. So the next question, what's your favorite youth hockey memory?
Ooh. I'd have to say playing in the Can-Am tournament in Lake Placid. Playing for the Minnesota Pride. Remember that crew? Out there? Yeah. That's got to be. There's too many youth hockey, but like that always stands out. Just playing in that arena and seeing that and experiencing that town is pretty sweet.
Yeah. One day I'll make it out there.
Yeah.
So what's the best chirp you've heard on the ice, off the ice, in the locker room, directed at you, not directed at you?
Oh, there's too many. There's way too many. I mean, like the standard, you're 30 years old and you make $200 a week is funny. But we make more than that in the coast, but like it still gets thrown out there. I mean, there's calling guys alcoholics is always funny. I guess the best one that I had towards me was in college. We we were given brother names after a long night of drinking, where the freshmen usually get handed a little more than everyone else, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And they gave us brother names, and I'm sitting right now. I've lost a couple pounds since my surgery on September 30th, but I'm sitting at a soaking wet 188 pounds at 6'3". So I've been a twig my whole life.
Yep.
And I came into college at 6'3", probably 165. So I was brother Dallas Buyers Club, which I don't know if you've ever seen the movie, but it's the Matthew McConaughey where he gets AIDS and looks like an alien.
Yes.
So I went from Dallas Buyers Club to be called Twiggy Alien Man. So there's like, and you get chirps like that every day, like just constant ones that are just like, oh my God, why am I crying right now of laughter? Like, there's too many. They always come right off the hip.
Best chirps always come from your own teammates too.
Oh yeah.
And they're usually super personal, which makes them funnier.
Big time.
Yeah.
There's too many to count, and most of them are over the line. So I'm just gonna refrain.
I forget who I was talking to, and we were talking about, locker room talk and how, that became the big topic during a past election. And, what people thought we talked about in the locker room is like, no, all we're trying to do is say the meanest thing to each other,
Yeah,
and,
exactly.
Make somebody cry, not because their feelings are hurt, but because they're laughing too hard.
Exactly.
We're not talking about that kind of stuff.
No, we're just a couple of middle-aged men that don't have anything better to do.
Yeah, we're a bunch of 12-year-olds that get to do grown-up stuff.
Exactly. Well, hockey's a kid thing too.
Yeah. So what's the worst post-game beer you've had?
Oh, shoot. Anything fruity.
Yeah,
anything fruity.
And whoever brings that to the game, I mean, they should just have to skate laps, and they're going to get picked on.
IPAs smack you.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of them. Like, I'll drink them if they're there and I'll enjoy it, but it's if you hand me 2 of those, I'm Ubering home.
Yeah.
After a game.
Well, and for me, I've said for a long time, I enjoy a good craft beer, but like a good Coors Light right after a game, or a good light beer like that is the perfect beer, because it's darn near water to begin with. So it's the perfect refresher when you get off the ice. 1 or 2 of them, then you go to the craft beers.
Yep. And they do say that it's actually like not unhealthy to have a beer after a game. 1, because it gives you like a little bit of a jolt, and 2, replenishes carbs.
Yeah.
Like that. So if you're going to drink a beer, best time to do it is after exercise.
Yeah. I was filling in for a team not too long ago, and I reminded the team captain that she was the one that offered me a stout before a game. I was like, stout, not even for your goalie, but nobody should be drinking a stout with the 10.5 ABV before the game.
No.
And it's like, and she's like, yeah, I haven't done that since that game.
Yeah.
she's like, I always have them available after, but before games, we'll
Not
keep it
so
to
much.
we'll keep it to the lower ABV beers.
Exactly.
So next question: when you tape your stick, do you go heel to toe or toe to heel?
Toe heel.
Okay, so you're one of the few goalies going toe heel. Is there a reason why?
Yeah, cleaner finish on the toe. You don't have to cut anything. It looks good. And it flows good. Plus, when you pass a puck off your forehand, it just goes with the tape. You know what I mean? You're not fighting against the grain. The puck's going with the grain.
See,
sense.
When I talked to Connor Beaupre, it was the reason that it goes with the tape, not because of the cleaner toe. I just don't tape the toe, so that's not an issue for me. And
there you go.
I'm not very good at playing the puck, so that's not a problem for me either.
Those are 2 Edina guys in the same page right there.
Yep, exactly. It's funny because Connor and we haven't gotten together for drinks yet, but we've gone back and forth a couple of times to see if he could fill in for me for a game, or when we need extra skaters. And every time he's like, I want to, but we got a game at the same time. So
yep,
it just hasn't worked out. Yeah. I mean, it's easy to get 4 or 5 texts a week asking me to fill in, and Unfortunately,
I get it, and it annoys me.
Yeah.
Like, no, I'm not coming tonight. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't mind it, and we've been doing a bunch of work around the house. So my evenings it's kind of tough, but the idea is to get all of that done. So when the pads get here, anytime somebody calls, yep, I can go.
Yeah, I'll be there. I'll be right there.
I'm going to need those fill-in skates so that I feel comfortable in that new equipment.
Oh yeah.
When I step on the ice with my own team. So
exactly.
Yeah. So the next question, there's only 2 left. What's your favorite number to wear and why?
31. Because that's when I truly found, that's the number I was wearing when I truly found my game in pro. It was 39 for a bit. It was 35. And it's always been like that number, like just does well for me. I was 35 in juniors, 35 in college. It was great. Then when I went to pro, I picked 47. Didn't really work. And then when I got to Kansas City and I truly found my pro game, I was wearing 31, and I really liked the ring that it had and the look with my name on top of it. So yeah. 31's been my go-to ever since.
Yeah, I was wearing 35 in high school, and I liked it. There's just something, it felt right on my back. You feel those numbers. I never liked one because it just like, there was nothing there. I liked 35. Then when I got to St. Mary's, one of the upperclassmen had 35. So I just went and got the biggest jersey in the closet and happened to be 39. I was like, same feel, works for me. And that's been my number.
Was that guy's name Ryan S.?
No, it was Fred Hennon, Benilde St. Margaret. Or no, Freddie went to Hill Murray because he played with my brother-in-law, but then he coached at Benilde. So it was Fred Hennon, and then after he graduated, Eric Richardson had 35, and I still have the nameplate. S is one of the reasons I didn't make varsity, but had I played varsity, I was going to be given 35. I still have the nameplate for my locker had I made it over to the varsity locker room. So
nice.
Yeah, I would have had it instead of Ryan. But he stole it from me.
Standard.
Yeah, it sounds like him. Typical S.
Yeah.
So last question, what advice do you have for young goaltenders?
Enjoy the grind, embrace it. I mean, that's a Justin Goldman quote right there.
Yeah.
But truly embrace it. Enjoy every second of it. And you never know what can happen. Surround yourself with good people, work hard, and good things are going to happen. And you never know when things are going to happen like that right there.
Yeah.
And just enjoy it all. Enjoy everybody you meet, be a good human, and embrace it, because at the end of the day, you can win as many championships as you want, but the best time in the world is the time that you spend putting in the work and hanging out with the guys and enjoying the camaraderie that is the game of hockey.
Well, and as Kane Van Gate points out, all roads lead to the beer leagues.
Facts.
Everybody winds up there.
Win.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I love Eddie Lack is sharing his beer league journey now that he's retired and playing forward, and it's great. And I forget who it was.
Be me.
I forget who it was the other day that posted, former NHLer. He's like truly initiated into the beer leagues. -7, broke a bone and lost the game. He's like, welcome to the beer leagues, fellas.
Yep. It is what it is.
So where can folks find you on social media if they want to follow you?
Instagram, Carlson_0031, I believe is the Instagram handle. Nice. I do have Twitter, but I use more Twitter for just creeping. I don't really, I just follow people. I don't tweet, and I'm pretty sure my account is like hacked and something tweets out for me. But I creep on Twitter and just follow along. But Instagram is my go-to.
Yeah, perfect. I'll make sure to get that in the show notes. Adam, I appreciate you taking time.
Anytime.
To talk. You're going to have to work on S for that beer league camp. I think that would be golden. I know quite a few goalies that would probably sign up for it.
We should get Kirchner involved too with that crew. You know Andy?
I don't think I've met him.
Okay, I thought he was at St. Mary's, but we'll get him going, and Kirchner and I will get on S for it.
Yeah, he was after me, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, because I graduated in 03. So I think I was a junior as his freshman year.
Okay, makes sense. And I think Kirch came right after him.
Yeah. Well, I'm an old guy. I was the old sage. It was funny because I had Donnie. I'm sure you've met Donnie down there at St. Mary's, the sports info director. He was our goalie coach at the time. And I had him on the show and I said, Donnie, we had 26 goalies trying out my freshman year for 6 spots. It was like, I was not one of the 6 best goalies. What were you guys thinking? And he confirmed what I thought for many years. I was a locker room guy. they knew I would play the role of a good locker room guy. And that's what I did for 4 years. And one of my buddies jokes, he said, you had the fastest store in the Mayak for 4 years.
Done. Well, that goes with enjoying the process, right? Like, sometimes that gets you on teams.
Yeah,
it's insane.
I knew what my role was. I embraced it. Did I want to play more? Did I want to be on varsity? Absolutely. But I embraced it. I would hide sandwiches in my breezers to take out to the bench to eat during games. It's like, know what your role is, embrace it, and go with it, because the team needs that. They need that
100%. Yes, they do.
Well, I know you're on a time crunch, so I'm going to let you go. And again, thank you. I appreciate your time. It was fun talking to Adam and hearing about his journey in hockey. The biggest takeaway is that it's never too late to dedicate yourself to the game. If you have aspirations of playing at higher levels, and it's not the end of the world if you don't make the A team or your high school team, just keep working. You just have to want it and outwork your competition. Be sure to find Adam on social media at Carlson_0031 on Instagram. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube simply by searching for Wash Up Goalie, and I'll pop up. Visit washupgoalie.com for some great hockey-related content, my beer league hockey video highlights, and of course, all podcast episodes. If you want some Wash Up Goalie or Tendy Talk apparel, be sure to visit my Threadless shop by clicking the merchandise link on the website. If you like this podcast, go listen to the BLPA Big Show. It's the OG BLPA podcast network show where a couple of beer league players talk beer league hockey, draft experience shenanigans, and exploits from around the game. Be sure to check out the full lineup of hockey-related podcasts on the Hockey Podcast Network as well. There are too many to list here, but shows like the Between the Whistles podcast, the Grit and Barrett podcast, and the World Hockey Report podcast can be found. I need to thank the band The Zambonis for allowing me to use their music on my podcast. You can download their music on iTunes and listen wherever you stream music from. I'm always working on lining up other goalies to talk to. If you are a goalie or have connections to a goalie who I should talk to, shoot me an email at washupgoalie39@gmail.com or DM me on social media. And let's not forget, if you are a brand who wants to sponsor the show, be sure to reach out to me. I'd be happy to talk. And finally, if you like what you hear, be sure to subscribe, rate, and comment on the podcast platform you're listening on. It's a quick action on your part that helps others find Tendy Talk. So, until next time, keep your stick on the ice and your body square to the puck.
Change here, differently.